up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kinky Politics. We are your hosts. I am Kai.
I'm Jordan.
And today we are talking about Biden and how it's been going thus far.
Yes,
this is really Jordan's.
Few months.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, what?
I just said it's been an interesting few months so far.
Please lead this conversation. Please do.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're in, let's see, it's the beginning of May, entering almost the middle of May. So we've had, February, March, April, almost 3 full months now of the Biden presidency. And let's start with just how you're feeling. I can talk about a lot of different things here,
Okay.
But like, how do you feel so far, 3 months in? Like, do you feel like he's doing a good job? Do you think he's doing a bad job? Where do you think the country is? Like, how do you think he's been as a leader so far?
Excuse me. Honestly, it has been such a relief having Biden in after Trump that it feels like he's Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And I don't.
Yes, I do.
You know what I mean? So it feels like a miracle is going on. Like all the little things, I shouldn't even say little, but all the things that have been able to pass right now or have been enacted, his response to the pandemic, by all of the COVID vaccines that have become available throughout the country, his involvement in making sure that's at the forefront, the stimulus checks, I'm going to talk about those. You know what I mean? Sure. Praise God. He like, there have been some things that, he signed, he enacted that Stop Asian Hate bill. There have been many things, I think, that have happened as a result of him coming into office. And I think that why he's been so effective is because he basically, with the whole, what's his name? I'm coming to you once again. What's his name?
I don't know.
my impersonation was terrible. What's his name?
Describe him. Let's play. It's like that game.
Old guy with the hands. You never believe him, but he's always the one telling the truth. He's like Doc. He's like Doc in Back to the Future. No one believes him, and they should believe him. And God, he ran for president. Bernie Sanders.
Oh, Bernie Sanders.
My bad. So, okay. So because of
you need to work on your Bernie impersonation. Let me just tell you.
I know. But because he really was, he worked with Bernie on a lot of things, and a lot of his a lot of Bernie's support shifted to Biden on the condition that he would follow a lot of the work that Bernie was trying to do. And so Bernie kind of has made him, I feel, accountable. Like he's like, hey, don't forget about what you promised, and we're working together.
Totally. You're 100% right. And I feel like even some of the most progressive people I know are impressed. Like Joe Biden isn't a perfect person. We know this. He wasn't a perfect candidate. But even the most progressive, most like far liberal people I know are pleasantly surprised with the amount of things he's done. I mean, even in the first day, all the executive orders that he signed to reverse most of all the crazy shit that Trump did, he just had them all ready to go, which is awesome, So that, you're right, his response to the pandemic, it's been he's taking it seriously, making sure that, there's enough vaccines and each state has support. I mean, we're at the point where we have more vaccines than we have arms to put them in. We're having to throw stuff out, and and figure that out. And it's great. That's a good problem to have, you
It
know?
is.
So you're right. You know, he's done a lot, and he's quiet. And I mean, I remember when I talked about this topic, you were like, oh, that's boring as F. And that's part of the point,
Yeah.
is that he is boring, and he's not tweeting, you know, every 5 seconds. And, you know, Trump controlled the stock market with his tweets. If he tweeted something, it could crash. If he tweeted something else, it could go up, you know? Whereas like Biden, you know, he does like the standard political tweet, you know, where it'll be like once a week, it'll be for a holiday or a famous birthday or an important moment in, you know what I mean? But it's never like, well, I'm having a really shitty day and I hate all these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Trump would do, you know? It wasn't all like, he doesn't type in all caps. So it's like this return to normalcy, you know, of like a boring president. It's refreshing, you know, because as thrilling as the Trump presidency was, in like the roller coaster that it was, you know, it made a lot of people, I think, have depression and anxiety, like a lot of people in this country for years, you know? And I remember finding out Joe Biden won, and like, I'm not someone who really gets depressed, but over the past 4 years, it's just like,
Yeah.
I've probably come the closest I've ever have to being like just depressed, you know? And so when I found out he won, it was just like, I can breathe again, you know? And at least for the next 4 years, know that we're not like a tweet away from going to war with Russia or China or destroying democracy as we know it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So his boring presidency, it's been refreshing, you know, which is a funny thing to say about something that's boring, you know?
Yeah.
But
yeah. My father used to say, oh, you know, boring is good. Boring is good. And I'd be like, what are you talking about? But boring
it's
means,
wisdom that we weren't ready for yet, you know?
and that's it. That's it, you know? I also think that Biden, you know, he has a history as much as, yes, the thing that I like about him, as much as I probably shouldn't, is that he's a career politician. And I know that sounds crazy, but the reason I like that is because he knows how to play the game. And that means he's clever. And as far as I have understood his political journey, he's changed and evolved as the
in the best kind of way, you know?
Yeah. As times have like changed, like his ideas and opinions on things have also changed, which says to me like either he knows how to play the game or he's grown as hell, you know?
And either way, his growing as a person, like, you know what you're saying, that is something to be commended. I mean, to be able to change your mind about something you're wrong, and he's apologized for viewpoints he's had before that, you know, that were no longer not only politically correct, but just not socially correct.
Right.
You know, so it takes a lot as a person to recognize that, apologize for it, and change your way of thinking and doing things. And he's done that a couple times. And Kamala called him out on that during one of the debates, remember?
Yeah.
You know, and he was able to take it in stride, and it didn't destroy his candidacy. You know, and I want to see more of her too. I feel like, I mean, you can tell me, but I feel like I haven't heard a lot about what she's been doing recently. And I know she's been busy because I think she's tackling like the stuff at the border.
Yeah.
But like, I want to see more of them like, oh, they had a meeting today, and like, you know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it would be cool to see, but like, you know, what we do know of vice presidents is that they hang in the back. I mean, we didn't really like, you know, even with Joe and Obama, it was like Joe and Obama became like a brand, but it was just kind of like Joe was his sidekick, you know, and we didn't know what the fuck he was doing, you know, we were just like, yeah,
he didn't matter.
Yeah, you know, so I can't see us tapping into what she will be doing, but maybe we will because this is the first time we've ever had a female vice president. So maybe
Yeah.
we'll get there, and hopefully we do. But I
Mhm.
still don't think generally people trust her as just a general thing. I think that there's a
Yeah.
lot of, you know,
Why do you think that is? Tell me why you think that is.
I think because she's a career politician as well.
Hmm.
And it's different for
Do you
women.
think? Do you think? Oh, it's totally different, but it's also different for women of color too.
And
I mean,
that's what I
she's a
mean.
strong, confident Black woman,
Hmm.
and I mean, I know her heritage is mixed too. 'Cause she has, is it like Pacific Islander or
Indian.
Indian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like, that is intimidating for a lot of people.
For a lot of people. Generally speaking,
And
I think they took a poll that said that like most white American men despise her. Like just
mhm.
they're like, no, they're afraid of her.
I believe that poll. I totally do, because like, man, like in those debates, she was giving it to everybody. Like she was taking them to school in the best way about everything. I mean, whether it was other Democrats, in the, those preliminary things, or,
Mm.
even Pence. I mean, good Lord, it was so fun to see her rip him to shreds. Like,
She
oh,
did.
she's a great debater too. Oh my,
She,
she's probably one of the best,
yeah. Yeah, I think
you
you're
know?
right. I think she is a great debater, but what I dislike about her though is because I also was one of those people who found her a little disingenuous. Um,
Mhm.
and what I dislike
No,
about
yeah, no, 100%.
yeah, what I dislike about her is her use of storytelling. So I find her to be a great attorney in that she knows how to salesman twist everything, where the story
Mhm.
is the focal point, and she's an amazing um, storyteller and knows how to do those one-liners like nobody's business. It's like, thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Auntie, for taking us back and reminding us that we were bad, you know?
Okay, well, here's this. You know when you said earlier that like there's something disingenuous about her?
Yeah.
I think the only time that I'm like, when like her as a candidate is when she tells stories, because it feels like a very what am I trying to say? Like a posed moment. Like,
Is
oh,
it?
we talked about this in the meeting before this speech, and I'm gonna tell this story, and it's gonna go like this. It just, that's when she feels the least authentic. Like this is the part where I tell the story. You know what I mean? And it doesn't come off like she's thinking about, like she just pulled it out of the air and is thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like her acting chops for that. Because I appreciate a good story,
Yeah.
but it has to come from like a genuine place, and almost like a oh, I was just thinking about this.
Yeah.
But when she does it, it feels very like performative
Which is
when
why
she
I say
tells her
the
story.
attorney.
Yeah. But I love her the most when she's like in a debate, and there's nothing disingenuous about that, because she's just laying down the facts and making her points and doing a great job. And that's the Kamala I like. But
Yeah.
the one that tries to be like, it almost reminds me of Hillary Clinton. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people didn't like parts about her. And I don't know if it's just that all the men in this country have a problem with a strong, confident woman,
It's
which could
not
be
just
very
a
true.
strong, confident woman, I don't think that they're afraid of. It's an intelligent. I think the thing with Hillary
Mm.
was that she wasn't relatable because she never came down to anyone's level. She never came down to Trump's level and met him for a fight. She was
Yeah.
like, I'm too educated to talk where you are, so I'm just going to shut the fuck up and let you look like a goon on television, you know?
She sort of lit the fire that engulfed her eventually, as far as her candidacy goes, by calling everyone who voted for him deplorables, and they took that name and like used it as a badge of honor. And I think she helped really ignite that. But and part of it was Republicans definitely did like the biggest smear hit job on anyone ever on Hillary. I mean, the Benghazi stuff that they spent $50 million investigating and found no wrongdoing, and had 13 different inquiries about it.
Yeah.
Like that was just to drag that woman through the mud and destroy her candidacy, which they did efficiently, unfortunately. But it's nice that there's someone so fresh like Kamala, like that she hasn't had any kind of like political baggage like that before.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
you're right. And you know, it's also interesting too because she is a Black woman who is married to a white man. And this is and she's a Black woman too who is not, who could pass. So meaning she could look like another race outside of being Black. And
yeah,
that's the first time we've really seen that, because with Obama, even though he was biracial as well, he looks like definitively like a Black man. He has a Black family, he has a Black wife. And so we kind of, I'm not saying he was two-dimensional, but I'm saying there's a level of expectation we have there where we're like, oh, he's a really smart, educated Black man with a Black family, goes to a Black church. You know what I mean? He's got all the things that we assume. She is not an assumption, you know? She voted for things that were like, are you a Black person? You know, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like
100%.
Or like, you know, she doesn't have any kids as a Black woman. She's
I was gonna ask you that. I couldn't remember if she had kids or not, because I know she has like a niece or two, doesn't she?
She does.
But,
her sister.
Yeah.
Her sister. She doesn't have any kids. She's got step kids.
Step kids, that's what it is. Yeah, okay.
And that's surprising to see a Black woman who doesn't have children. It's surprising to see a Black woman, especially in politics, who doesn't have a Black husband. First, I think for the Black community, I think it was a little off-putting. Like, I think it was like, well, how does she relate to me? You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're right. Yeah.
But for me, it was like, this is me. Like, oh my God, I know this woman. Like, I have this experience. I have a white, you know what I mean? I have a multi-dimensional background. I'm not from, you know, so it was like really refreshing. And I think also too, in saying that, we are now coming to terms with this idea that Black people are not just this type. They're not gangbangers. They're not just Obamas. They're not, you know, funny characters. They're not the maids. They're not, they can be your definition of a Black person is limited, you know, and we see it based on Kamala. Like, we're like, this is.
Well, especially white people's thoughts about like Black, you know what I mean? And I think that's what you're referring to, is like how white America sees Black people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They can't put it in
a box.
In like the box that they're used to putting a Black identity in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're being challenged about their racism. And so, you know, it's hard for them to like wrap their head around it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it you know, the same for me. When she first came on the scene, I was like, I don't trust her because, you know, she's got a white husband.
You couldn't figure out like who she was. Yeah.
Exactly. Because she didn't check the boxes of like, yes, I understand. Yes, I understand. And because I didn't understand, despite having a similar experience, because I'm like, how does somebody like that get to lead? How can they bring other people with them if they're not relatable? Because it's like the general Black person, I don't think relates to Kamala Harris. I don't think so. You know?
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
And I don't think the general white person can fully relate to Kamala Harris. So it's really helping us redefine how we see people of color, but particularly Black people, how they've always been seen or perceived, you know?
Yeah.
So not to make this whole conversation about Kamala, but Biden is very normal. Kamala is not. And that together is something we have never seen. And so I think everybody's waiting in the, you know, what do you call it, on the sides of the theater? The wings.
In the wings.
Yeah. I think everyone's waiting in the wings to see what they're gonna do. Are they gonna tap dance? Are they gonna, you know what I mean? Like, what else are they gonna do? You know?
It is interesting to think about, and I know that that Joe Biden is like the half of two very different political duos. You know, Joe and Obama, Joe and Kamala. It's like it's going to be interesting in 4 years and maybe 8 years, hopefully,
Yeah.
to like compare those two duos.
Yeah.
And just like, yeah, what is it that makes them good duos? You know, is it because you have this old white dude that is like safe, you know, and then you have like this candidate that you're like, who is this? Who's Obama? Who's Kamala? Like, you know, that are extremely smart, extremely likable. Well, Kamala, like her likability is like I like her because I appreciate like the art. Like I just like her as a debater. Like she's just very smart, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's funny to see Joe with both of these people and figure out like what made that a winning ticket.
Yeah.
You know, like that you know what I mean? Like just that combination. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
to think about.
you're right. You're right, but you know, it's like it makes me think of like in the movies when we watch movies and we're like, why did they put so and so with like the star? You know?
Yeah.
Or like, why are there a bunch of losers in this movie and then this one star? But
or
it's like,
why do we keep seeing this duo in all the movies? Like Seth Rogen and James Franco were in a bunch of movies. Like, and now who is it? Amy and I were just talking about this because there was another duo that like is just keeps making movies together. But that's what they're like. They're like those movie stars that they just make 10 rom-coms together and everyone eats that shit up. You know what I mean? It's like
Adam Sandler has the same thing. He always works with that lady. There's a lady.
Well, he works with a couple people. You're right, though. Yeah, it's the same thing. You have Adam Sandler, and then Roy Schneider, who was in a bunch of his movies. Oh God, the guy from Reservoir Dogs.
I'm terrible with actor names.
I am too. He's the guy that has like always the whiny voice. He's always like the whiny character, but he's an older guy now. Oh God, I forget his name. But anyway, he was in a lot of movies with Adam Sandler. So you're right. It's like, what makes these duos just so watchable and followable and supportable, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I think we need to figure out about like Joe and
Kamala.
And all,
yeah.
And everyone else he's paired with, you know?
Yeah.
They're just really likable, you know, at the end of the day.
I agree with you. I also think Joe Biden, you know, outside of it being a relief, as you mentioned, and outside of it being just like, yeah, a relief. He has presented himself, in my opinion, as the grandpa that everybody always wanted. Outside of like, you know, oh, he touched, you know, like, why did he touch the girls like that?
Yeah, and that like, okay, like I get it, like why people thought it was weird, but it's also like, I don't know. Like, okay, how did you feel? Let me ask you, how did you feel? Did it irk you?
No.
Like the hand on the back and the kisses on the head and like that, to me, it's like, that's just, I mean, a lot of people in that generation do that.
That's
you know,
it.
like a lot of people in that generation. Like how many plays have you seen of people that were born in you know, the dude's like what, 78 or something like that? Like how many plays is it where people kiss to greet or say goodbye, you know, to just people that they're not like dating or like their daughter or their cousin, you know what I mean? Like that's how they did it. And like in you know, South American countries, like the kiss on the cheeks and stuff, like that's an everyday thing, you know, that familiarity. Even to acquaintances that happens, you know, like people you just meet, oh, hey, nice to meet you. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just funny that like, you know, people were upset about that, but yet the guy who's president, who has 20 women saying that he sexually harassed them, they don't question that.
No.
Yeah.
No, they don't care.
That's why I think it never had legs, you know, like people saying that it was creepy, like it just didn't have legs because everyone knew it wasn't a big deal because he never did any of those things like behind closed doors or anything. I mean, they were all on camera. That's why people were talking about them, you know?
Right. And he was so, I mean, even before his candidacy, he was so in touch with his emotions, and, you know,
100%.
You would see him in a preliminary debate, in a debate, talk about his family, cry, get emotional.
Empathy. It's because the man has empathy. He's literally almost the exact opposite of Donald Trump. Like, when has Donald Trump showed any emotion other than a petulant child?
Right.
Emotions. Like, never. The man has never shown empathy for anything. You know, it's the selfishness. And then you have Joe Biden on the other end of the spectrum who, cries at the drop of a hat, you know, has had loss. I mean, his son died of brain cancer. His wife and young daughter, I think his daughter died in a car accident too when they were young. So it's like, you know, this is a man who has had loss and shows emotion, and not only shows like his own emotions, but can empathize with people who are in pain. And it's just literally the opposite end of the spectrum. And I think that after 4 years of a lack of empathy, you know, it was just, that was part of the refreshing thing too, is having someone who is like human and not just a caricature of themselves, you know?
100%. 100%. It's like we, for the first time, get to see a fully realized man who's not afraid of himself and his feminine traits.
Feminine,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. With quotes,
in quotes, it's like we get to see a man, be an older man, and sit in that title. You know, it's like, okay, like, fuck, do the damn thing then. Tell us what to do. Anyway, on that note, I guess we've what do you think? Have we covered it, or is there anything that we're missing?
I think we covered it. Yeah. Okay. That was good.
Awesome. Yeah. Please sign us away.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you all next week. Have a great week. Remember to like, follow, and share Kinky Politics, and we'll see you next time.
Oh my God. Orange is not my new black.